Let's go into the rules to see how exactly I am accomplishing that. So here is the rule flow. Filter by country, state, city is the name of it. First, I have, if I expand these out to be a bit more readable, the get country UI control. As always, I'll have my filter out everything but UI control equals 0. I am creating a container with please select a country as the title. Within it will be a UI control. UI containers plus equals UI control.new, as always, is the way to create a UI control within a container. Field name will be stored within my vocabulary as place.country. I am specifying that path to data as place. As always, the name of the association itself is where the actual data is going to be stored, because this entity is technically what the very top level of the JSON structure in the accrued data. That's going to be capturing all the different entity and attribute combinations that I select will be underneath this root entity. And instead of just leaving it as multiple choices and assuming in the subsequent rule sheet I will define all of the different options, instead of what I'm doing is first to define within the actual UI control attribute underneath data source, I'm only ever going to use this particular attribute when I am assigning it to be a URL endpoint of that sort of JSON structure for this purpose. So pulling in or assigning the data source for the multiple choices UI control to be this endpoint countries.json. Then I'm subsequently going to specify within a newly created data source options entity, same sort of syntax other than equals is used when we have a one-to-one relationship versus a one-to-many when we would use plus equals for creating a new entity within a collection. I'm creating a data source options entity here and assigning for it the data text field name and data value field as country name so that I only store the applicable or that I'm pointing Corticon to tell the front end where to look for the display name and the value to store. Then when I get to stage 1, the subsequent stage number will be following a similar pattern but with an additional level of sophistication here where we're again going to just be filtering out everything but the applicable stage number. But now instead of merely having this endpoint and then creating the second rule sheet with the drop downs but only defining the data text field and data value field, I'm bolstering that by pointing the front end to the path to options array. So what I'm doing is dynamically populating this path, JSON path definition, in addition to just these field names like before, but I'm adding in the path to options array equals, and then I have my syntax to navigate to country name plus whatever has been stored underneath data.place.country will be dynamically populated within this query, and the country name is country underscore name is the name of the JSON label that will actually be at that JSON endpoint. And then place.country here is where I'm going to navigate and populate out whatever the value stored for place.country by the user's previous selection. That's how I am, back at this preceding step, able to get to a array that says state name with a dynamically populated United States within the context of the this JSON path syntax. Now, in order to create this JSON path variable, I used just one of the online JSON path definition wizards. There's a lot of useful tools online that can help you to create the actual structure of this syntax. And it's quite useful because now I can make use of not just my own self-hosted within GitHub JSON endpoints for this data, but also pull in additional data sources that might be maintained by a third party, whether that be various different identity validation services or healthcare EHR endpoints in order to filter out, say, different encounters with an individual. There's a lot of flexibility made possible by in all cases, never storing this data directly within Corticon, but having all of these mechanisms to pull in data where and when and based on what different criteria and what values have been accrued thus far.